Welcome back to another review, and today we're going to be looking at SH Figuarts Kinnikuman-Sugaru in his champion uniform. So this is just a singlet that's a little bit of a different. You can see everything he comes with is 3 heads and then 2 sets of hands, fists and open hands. So here's comparing him side by side, just height of two bodies that I do really like using the fighting body type of SHF instead of bodycoon for doing customs. So here on the right is a custom security uh, Android essentially that I did, which I really like him. It was very Monster of the Week style design is what I was aiming for. And then here on the left is also again using one of the wrestling type bodies for Batman. You get some really nice poses and everything. Has some very unique joints just in general compared to like the Bodycoon. And Kinnikumans actually they tend to have some additional very interesting joints that are just a little like for hyper expression. So here in the neck, you have a ballpoint at the bottom and a double ballpoint in the neck, and it goes straight into the head. You do get a good amount of expression from the head, but nothing too crazy. So, they clip it in nice and easy. This is a secondhand figure 2. It is in very good shape, but I did manage to pick them up at on eBay for about 20 bucks. So your standard grimacing kind of I'm ready to fight, let's take on whoever is coming at me kind of head. One thing you'll notice too is the fin has a little bit of a different tint kind of color. It seems like maybe it's just molded a little differently in a slightly different tinted plastic. But overall, the paint and everything is applied very nicely. The meat symbol right in the forehead too works very. It's nice and clean too. There's no smudge or anything. It's very good condition overall. The whole figure. So here comes the second head, and it's going to be a yelling face. There's something about this face that I just simply just don't really like it for the lips. I don't know. They did really well about maintaining the like slight wrinkles that the mask would have, because if you don't know about Kinnikuman, it's muscle men, but Suguru specifically is a muscular man wearing a muscular just like costume. So on top of him, he is wearing a muscle suit and he's wearing a mask as well. He also always wanted to be a superhero. He looked up to Ultraman, so I thought it was fitting to do after Ultraman a Suguru review. So then the third head that it seems like it's maybe taking the mask off, but I prefer to think of this as he just took a hit and he's like almost KO'd type of face. The reason is because the skin underneath the mask that they chose to do is a sparkly white, which doesn't make sense because Suguru is just a blonde guy with he's just a white guy with blonde hair. He's nothing super special. That's actually kind of one of the charms of him is his face also just doesn't really fit the muscular body that he has underneath the suit. So but the wrinkling is super nice done here too. And again with the lips, it's interesting because they get like super tiny but in the yelling face they look like just a big open gasm. So now to look at the hands that every fighting body of SHF usually comes with, and they are a little hinge grappling hand. These hands are nice. They don't really get loose the more you bend them. What ends up happening, or you run the risk of, is the actual joint kind of coming out because it is pinned with just another piece of plastic pipe inside. But they're pretty nice. Here's an example of him using one of the hands, but also just a little posed up with the security guard. Uh, so what I was talking about these hyper joints too is actually in the knee and elbow for Kinnikuman. So here, the standard fighting body, you can see the pose is very standard to how a human would move. Upward kick, and the knee bends in essentially what like a double bend position would be for like a really deep squat or kneeling, or a straight kick. Kinnikuman, you can see kind of here in the elbow, he has a bend in the top point that hinges into the bicep and a bend that's in the forearm, but they're connected by a little swivel in the center. So you can turn and actually get like a really nice uh, pose of a flex. So here in the Vitruvian pose, you can kind of see that too. I didn't really turn the ones that are on the knees, but we'll see it in a little bit different uh, image here in a second. So in the inside of the drop down hip too, you have this drop down hip that plugs into the top of the thigh there, but that is a shell. Inside of it is a pipe that goes down. You get a lot of motion out of that. So in the abdominal though, it is just a big joint that bends. That's just all kind of a floating piece. So again, here's another look of the elbow joint, then the ball peg that goes into the floating shoulder piece, which has another ball in the front side so you can pull forward. Now here is the back of the knee. So you can see there's the bend joint that goes in the calf and bend joint that's in the back of the bottom of the thigh. There is a swivel there, while in your standard wrestling bodies, you'll just see the full bends. So here is, sporting it. So one of those knees is turned just slightly to the side so then he can get this nice pose of he just took a hit and he's like oh no, who's coming up? Who's coming up behind him? It's the security, but he's going down with a pile drive. You can get some really nice poses here. It's hard to maintain like the atomic pile drive, but with the Revel Tech you could. It worked a little bit better. But overall, I think Suguru is a 5 out of 5. If you can get him, or if you dig this look, it's the one to go with. I like me some muscle men, just the look of them because there's some they look heroic. But yeah, if you can manage to get this guy cheap or even at full price, is definitely worth it. Any version really, because they all use this type of joints. So I'll see ya.